Learning Birds, this is Mr. Ozarka with another lesson brought to you by learningbird.com. If you have any questions about the following video, you can email me at mrozarka@gmail.com. Alright, here we go. Alright, so this is going to be a video about pie charts. Pie charts, or circle graphs as they're sometimes called, are basically a way of visualizing data that is broken down into parts that are based on an entire whole. This one represents the percentage of STEM workers that are female versus male. What you need to notice is that the entire circle represents all STEM workers, male and female, while each piece is broken up into a specific piece, whether it's female or male. It is extremely important to label each piece specific to each breakdown. This is another example of a pie chart of a literal pie. It shows how pie charts work with a little bit of humor. Analyzing pie charts are not too complicated, but creating them might be. So this is a video that's basically going to show how to make pie charts by hand as well as using technology. In this case, we're going to be using Google Sheets. Some necessary prior understanding that you're going to need for pie charts is the following. First, you're going to need to know what a percentage is, which is basically just a proportion in relation to a whole out of 100. Second, you're going to need to know that there are 360 degrees around a circle. And lastly, you're going to need to know how to use a protractor, which is used to measure angles. The first thing you'll want to do is get some data to analyze and create a chart for. I'll be using the following data. Out of the 1,200 people surveyed, this is what they considered to be their favorite colors. This data is basically showing that out of the 1,200 people surveyed, for each color, for example, for blue, 648 thought blue was their favorite color. 288 thought green was their favorite color. For red, it was 132, and then so on. These frequencies need to be broken down into percents so that we know how much of a whole each part represents. Then we can use that percent to figure out how many degrees each part needs to be on the circle. So what we're basically going to be doing is filling out this column right here of percents based on these frequencies. So we're going to take this part and divide it by this whole to get this percent over here. Okay, so I'm going to do the blue for you, and then I'm just going to kind of fill in the rest just to save time on this video. So we are going to take this 648, so on my calculator right here, I'm going to take 648, and then I'm going to divide it by 1,200. You can see this. And then I get 0.54. I'm going to turn it into a percent by multiplying it by 100, and then we get 54%. So what we're going to do then is fill in this 54% for the blue. Okay, we're going to continue this all the way down for the percent right here for each of the colors. So I'm going to do that real quick right now. And as you can see, the total divided by the total, this 1,200 is going to be equal to that 100%. If you add all of these up, you'll get 100% down here as well. Okay, so that's how to find the breakdowns of all the percents. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to want to turn these percentages into an angle measure. Okay, so the angle measure is based on the total angle of 360 degrees around a circle. So for this 100%, I'm just going to put 360 degrees. Now to find the other angle measures based on all these percents, we're just going to multiply whatever that percent is by that total of 360. So what I'm going to do is take that 54%, so that 0.54, and then I'm going to multiply it by 360, and then we'll get our angle measurement of 194.4. So I'm going to put that in for the blue, and then I'm going to repeat this for every single step down here really quickly. So if I added up all these parts of this angles, I would end up getting 360 degrees. So these are all the parts. This is the whole right here. Okay, now that we have our angle measurements, we're going to be able to start drawing our pie chart. It's also a good idea to start with the smallest angles first. So I'm going to start the smallest going all the way up to the biggest. It's easier. You'll see when we actually start making this. So here we go. We're going to start making this pie chart now. All right, so for the first thing I'm going to do is make my entire whole, my entire pie. So that's what I'm basically going to be doing. I'm going to be doing that in black here. And I use this circular object right here. It's also important to notice that I'm using dry erase markers on this. You might want to use pencil in the beginning. It's just going to be easy to erase in case you make a mistake. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the smallest angle first. So we have that 10.8. So I'm going to use my protractor to measure out that 10.8. The issue though is for this protractor, you're going to need to find the center, and that center is going to line up to this right here. So the center of this circle, I'm just going to kind of guesstimate right here. And I'm going to say that the center of the circle is about right here. It doesn't need to be exact because this is by hand, so it's not going to, this is more or less a sketch anyway. So I'm just going to say my center is right there. And it says we have to make a 10.8 degree angle, so that's what I'm going to do right here. So I'm going to line that up with the center. And then to make my angle, I'm going to line up the 0. So the 0 is going to be right over here. So I was going to make a 0 angle. It'd be about right there. And then I'm going to measure out my 10.8 degrees, which is going to be about right here. Now I'm going to use that inside 10 right there. And then from there, I'm just going to connect that center to the outside of the circle. so, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. And then I have my 10.8 degree angle right there. I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. So I'm going to line up my angle measurement based on that last angle that I just made. So just like that, and then I want 14.4. So in purple, I'm going to mark the 14.4, which is about right there. I'm going to connect it to the outside of the circle. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the black. Okay, now I'm going to do my red. Next, I'm going to do the green. And then the great thing is, since we left the blue last, the blue ends up the remaining part right here, which as you can see, it's a little bit more than 180 degrees, which it should be because it's 194. So that means that this last part is just going to be blue. So this is kind of why it's good to start small and go big, so you don't have to actually make that bigger angle. So that's basically how you make a circle graph by hand. As you can see, it's not very exact. The coloring's not exactly perfect on it. It's just supposed to be a rough idea to get to learn how to make pie charts kind of the old-fashioned way. So that's how to make it by hand. All right, so this is going to be using Google Sheets. You only have to put the color and the frequency of the favorite color. You don't actually have to do the percentage and the degree measurement for this. So the first thing that we're going to do is to create the pie chart is you're going to want to highlight the data. We don't need this total here, so I'm just not going to highlight it. So I highlighted the data that we're going to be looking at, and then hit Insert, and then just go to Chart. Now, this chart editor pops up, and if you notice, you can choose, it says recommendations. So the Google Sheets basically figures out, based on looking at your data, which graph you might want to use. We want to use this one right here. So we're going to click on the pie chart right here. And if you notice, it comes out with a nice, pretty graph. It looks similar to the graph that we just made by hand. The only problem is the colors don't match. So this is blue, and this is green, and that's red. So you're actually going to be able to change those colors. We're going to show you how to do that in a little bit. Another thing you can do, if you didn't want to do recommendations, you can click chart types, and it brings you to this screen right here. And you can scroll down here and look at different types of charts that you can have. So you can have the standard pie, you can have a donut as well. It's the same thing, it just gets rid of that center part. Or you can have a 3D pie chart that looks something like this. Let's use a 3D pie chart just to kind of make this a little bit more advanced here. That kind of looks nice. Now let's do some customization on it. When you click the customization tab up here, it brings you to a title. So it says frequency of favorite color. So we'll just write favorite color instead. The legend right here, right now it's on the left, but you can move it to the right if you want. You can move it to the top if you want. You can bold it if you want, or italicize it if you want. You can change the size of it, so if you want to make it smaller, that sort of thing, you're going to be able to do that here. You can change the color of the font if you want them all to be red, but that doesn't really make much sense. You can change the font if you want. Background, you can change the background color if you wanted. Probably not a good idea to do that, so we'll just keep it white. And then at the slice, and if you notice, it puts the percentages in each of those. You can make it change so it says a value instead, or you can make it just say the label. We're probably just going to keep it as percentage just because it kind of is a nice little thing to show. If you make it smaller, since it shows all the individual ones a little bit more, then it's really hard to kind of see them. So let's just kind of figure out what degree. That kind of works good there. Okay. And then we can click maximize here. It kind of gets rid of the title. We're not going to worry about that so much. And then we're going to scroll down here, and it says series blue. Okay, well that's already blue. Next we're going to do the green instead of being red. Let's actually make it green. And then we're going to change the red to actually be red. We'll change the black to be black. And then we'll change the purple to be purple. And then we'll change the other to be, we'll just do a gray color for that one right there. And then we have our nice little pie chart right here. And then we can click insert, and then it kind of inserts the graph right here. Now, another great thing about Google Sheets is if I wanted to, I can change these numbers. You probably wouldn't want to do that, but say you made an error or something. If you change these numbers, like say I change it to 650, it's automatically, or 660, let's just do that. It'll automatically change this over here. So if I change this to 1000, it changes the actual pie chart. Now, we don't actually want to do that. I just wanted to show you that it's a lot easier than by doing it by hand. If you made an error, you just change the numbers and it just quickly changes right here. So that's basically how to make a pie chart in Google Sheets. So you might be thinking, who cares about pie charts? Well, it turns out pie charts are everywhere and used a lot to explain data. They're also used in some hilarious memes. So if you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know. And if you thought this lesson helped you, please be sure to click "This was helpful." For other great lessons, be sure to check out learningbird.com.